Let's start with the First Amendment. Let's look at churches, for example. First Amendment, free exercise of religion. Do you remember that one? There are lawsuits now in 7 states over church restrictions right now. Just 2 weeks ago in Kansas City, Missouri, as part of the city's plan to reopen non-essential businesses, the mayor ordered the churches and other places of worship to record the names of people attending service. You know, to help with contact tracing in case anybody gets the coronavirus. Now we can have the church make lists of people and give it right to the government. Isn't that nice? But after getting a ton of pushback, the mayor has now made that record keeping optional. I don't know about you, but I stopped going to the church that's pulling the lever for that option. Then there's Virginia, which ironically is the homeland of Washington, Jefferson, and Madison, and I think has "Death to Tyrants" on their state flag. It's always up for, lately, some good old-fashioned tyranny, at least these days. The pastor of a church was now issued in Virginia a criminal citation for having 16 people at a Palm Sunday service. That was 6 people over the limit of 10 set by the governor. Oh, don't mess with him. Ralph Blackface Northam, he is coming after you, mammy, with the jazz hands and everything. Kentucky, of all states, has been especially heavy-handed towards churches lately. One Baptist church there filed a lawsuit against Governor Andy Beshear, arguing that his ban on in-person worship services violates the First Amendment. You think so? A U.S. district judge actually agreed with the church, saying, and may I quote, "Evidence that the risk of contagion is heightened in religious setting any more than a secular one is lacking. If social distancing is good enough for Home Depot and Kroger, it's good enough for in-person religious services, which, unlike the foregoing, benefit from constitutional protection," end quote. Is there a reason that most of these states, they're all Democrats? Is that a reason? Don't get me wrong, there are some problems with a couple of Republican governors as well. But generally speaking, why are we split on this? Why is this a political issue? Americans are understandably frustrated. Worshippers willing to stay home for a few weeks. All of us were. I'm willing to leave my business for a few weeks just to make sure the hospitals aren't overwhelmed. But now you're wondering, wait a minute, wait. Social distance, I can do that at Costco, but apparently it's impossible at my church or my business. At a rally in Riverside, California last week, Dr. Jeffrey Barkey, he's a family practitioner, summarized this frustration. Watch.
Never in the history of this country have we been told that you can't go to church because it's non-essential, but you can go get an abortion because that's essential. Never before in our country have we let criminals out of jail, but we've told you you can't exercise your Second Amendment right and protect yourself by purchasing a firearm. When liquor stores are deemed essential, but your businesses are deemed non-essential, there's something wrong going on.
Okay, let me talk some more about the First Amendment. We haven't left the First Amendment yet. What about freedom of assembly and the right to petition a government over grievances? That is still in the First Amendment. Well, you may be able to do some of those things in some states, but don't try using Facebook to organize. Recent protesters and the organizations and organizers in California, New Jersey, Nebraska had their efforts shut down. Facebook claims that it was the governments of those states that instructed them to remove the content promoting those protests. But if that isn't censorship at work, what is censorship? Also, you could just threaten the protesters like the Republican mayor of Lancaster, California. He did this a few weeks ago. Here's what he wrote. "Don't mess with us. You will not endanger the lives of our hardworking families because of some misguided civil liberties argument. The quote is, 'Give me liberty or give me death.' Well, being arrested and locked up in an overcrowded jail might just result in granting you your wish." Holy cow. Threatening protesters with coronavirus. Nice. Good luck with your election, Mr. Mayor. Now, The state governments are using the pandemic as a magic wand to make those pesky Bill of Rights things just disappear. That's why you saw the Raleigh, North Carolina police breaking up crowds gathered outside the local state capitol just a few weeks ago and explaining that protesting is a non-essential activity. Oh, okay. Well, then it's okay. We'll just try that First Amendment thing later when it's more convenient for you. This is crazy, and every American knows it in their heart. We are still in the First Amendment violations. I've got a lot more to go. Either the First Amendment is always essential, or it never is. Which is it? It doesn't work if it depends on what day of the week it is or what we're up against. We got to do things what we got to do. We all love the Constitution. No, we love the Constitution, period. So the Constitution stands. Non-essential is now a magic phrase being used a lot to cancel constitutional rights. I hope you weren't too attached to the Second Amendment, for example, because, that's not essential. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, New York, and several counties in California all declared gun stores as non-essential. You notice the pattern there? And I hope you weren't too partial to the Fourth Amendment, the one about, your right to be secure in your papers and effects and nobody can spy on you. The one that prevents unreasonable searches and seizures because big tech and government are all over your personal data. And it's getting worse. Google's community mobility reports, which analyze data on where you're going within your community and shares the information with government entities like the CDC. So You've got that. You've got surveillance drones in California now, made in China, of course. In Kansas, the health department is using a GPS tracking platform called Unicast to track its citizens' location through their cell phones. But don't worry, they found a way around the state laws against that. They're just farming it out to a third party. Unicast gets location data from other applications on your smartphone. So they're not legally required to notify you that you're being tracked. Isn't that convenient? Do you really think the government is going to put these toys back into the emergencies only closet when the pandemic is over? Let me rephrase that. Do you really think that some of these politicians will ever declare this pandemic over? All of these violations in the Bill of Rights are bad enough, but the violation causing the most pain right now, by far, is covered under the Ninth Amendment. And that is the amendment that basically says just because we're not listing every right here doesn't mean the government can't take away other rights that the people haven't listed, like maybe the right to earn a living. In February, America's unemployment was 3.5, best economy we've ever had. It's now officially 14.7. Only twice since World War II has the U.S. ever hit 10%, and that was during the 1982 recession and for 1 month in 2009. Last week, White House economic advisor Kevin Hassert says he believes the unemployment rate could get above 20% if the lockdowns continue much longer. We are going to hit a peak. And we're not close to it yet. At the peak of the Great Depression in 1933, unemployment hit 25%, and I believe we can easily get there. New numbers just came out today that suggest the unofficial number has already hit 30%. Government taking away your right to work is unprecedented. Never before in this country has it happened. Well, not since we've had a king. Americans are defying shutdown orders and opening their businesses because they absolutely have to. They don't hate anybody else, but they're desperate. Yes, we're a wealthy nation, but not so much that people can afford to sit on their hands for 2 months and still pay the bills. And so far, the response from state governments is appalling. Rather than sympathizing and trying to figure out a way to salvage people's livelihoods, their dream, their pursuit of happiness, Governments are in attack mode, like Governor Newsom in California, who went after nail salons trying to reopen. The state has shut down 33 salons so far. Newsom justifies this shutdown, claiming that the first community spread of coronavirus in California started in a nail salon, so they all must be bad. Last week, I talked to Carl Mankey. He's a 77-year-old who reopened his barbershop in Michigan before he was officially allowed to. He's one of the luckier small business owners. So far, a judge has sided with him, actually denied the Michigan Attorney General's attempt to close his barbershop down, but the state is still harassing him. Remember, they will use every tool in their toolbox, and I'll tell you more about that later on in the program. But back in California, Elon Musk ruffled the feathers of politicians by reopening his Tesla factory despite the shutdown. He requested that if they intend to arrest anyone, they should only arrest him. What happened? Well, they didn't arrest him. Why not? Because he employs 10,000 voters. You arrest him, you piss off 10,000 people. That's why the county didn't do anything. They fear you just a little bit. And this is the reality in communities all across the nation.